Hey, what's up guys? I am Safi and today we're going to talk about how I lighted and communicated with the director of this scene that I'm about to show you just in a second. I also want to talk about anxiety and pre-shooting anxiety, as well as how to get the mood correct. Like if you want a soap opera feel where everyone looks flattering, or a really dark and gritty Ozark kind of short film. But what you're gonna see is my friend Kalen, who wrote, directed, as well as is the main actor of this trailer short film we're about to shoot. He's going to talk about some behind the scenes tips, as well as I'm going to give you guys some behind the scenes tips, and then we'll discuss it a little bit more in depth after. So enjoy and let's talk about it.
Try this, right? So we grab this bag, right? We get in the car and we did one of those things where you open it up. We did, and then we both went like this because it doesn't hit right away. For a moment, it could be good, and then out of nowhere, we're all, oh, it was.
But this tuition though, I can't get kicked out of school my first year.
Isaiah, we've tried everything. Your tuition debts are too high. You know, it's never too late to come back to school at a later time.
But I promised my brother that I would go. You know, I would stay in class, finish what he started.
Well, if the school doesn't get a check in the next 14 days, there's nothing we can do. I'm sorry.
What's up, y'all? I'm Kalen, and this is Safi, and we're on set of our first movie.
He's the director, the writer, and we're trying to get a scene set up. So we have Aputure 120D Mark II, we have two C-stands, we have the NTG3 with a boom mic, we have Sennheiser Ceramonic lavalier mics, we have a Godox VL 300, and we're trying to get a moody vibe, so we're gonna try to make it look a little bit more dramatic and emotional. Unfortunately, this scene is very beautiful, but it is a very good feeling, good vibes type of setting. So I'm gonna try to show you a behind the scenes kind of with Kalen's feelings.
This scene is actually a FBI almost interrogation scene. So it is high intensity, there's a lot of emotion. So yeah, we definitely have to.
So a few tips. We're gonna try to control all the light as possible. Since we're shooting around sunset, we don't want light changing from the window. And since the light is gonna keep going down and down, the exposure values are gonna change. So what we're gonna do is close the curtains and try to make it as dark as possible in here and control all the light with the key light, backlight, my Falcon F7s, and control that mood so that doesn't change when you're shooting. That's very important. So that's it, guys. That's the intro. I'm gonna show you some behind the scenes once we start building stuff up. Peace.
Let go.
Sir, FBI agent Jane Meadow. Do you know anything about the JF Mafia?
JF Mafia? No, what is that?
So I guess you also have no idea why you attacked them.
I didn't attack anybody.
We have solid evidence linking you with them.
This doesn't make any sense. Okay, obviously, someone's using me for their own personal vendetta.
Obviously.
All right, as you can tell, the before and after and having control over your environment is very important. One thing I want to say, a disclosure, is that I personally myself don't think that I got the tone and the editing pace as good as I wanted on what the director asked for me. I feel like I kind of fell a little short, and I'm short, but I fell a little short from what he wanted, and it was more of a sad, like moody feel, and I think I gave too much of a soap opera feel. Everything is just so colorful and bright and flattering, and I don't know if that's what he was going for. I honestly didn't feel 100% like I did the best job, which I still am proud that I did it all by myself. I was the boom operator, I was the gaffer, I was the focus puller, I was the camera operator. It was just all on me, and sometimes that gets really stressful. So I want to start off the first topic of today's video about shooting anxiety and how to manage all of that stress when it's all on you. So number one, It is vital that you believe in yourself. And sometimes we are afraid when we're going on a shoot that we're going to fail, we're going to disappoint, or in my head, I'm like, did I get lucky every single time? I feel like I got lucky. I don't know anything. I have no idea. And once I get on the shoot, everything just comes back. I remember all my past experiences and it just goes with the flow. I feel confident, but just getting there is very hard for me. And I know some of you feel the same way. Hopefully, I feel like there's a lot of artists that feel very anxious before a shoot because they don't want to let down their friends. They don't want to let down the actors or the crew. But I think as long as you put in the work beforehand and you prepare a little bit, you should be totally fine. And even if you do fail, you still put yourself out there. And that's what's important, that you actually are going out there and doing something that you love. So let's talk about a little bit on how to make it easy. We're still on topic number 1, and here's a video of me. Actually, it's the best investment I've ever made. It was a C-stand with wheels. And I think I bought this from Adorama. I'm not sure. No, I bought this from B&H. What I do is I put all of my Godox VL 300, spotlight mounts, just everything I can on this wheel C-stand, and I push it and it just glides. It makes my job so much easier. I don't have to dread going back and forth to my apartment, to the car, to my apartment, to the car. It's just so much more simpler. And I want to give that advice to you guys that whatever is in your workflow, if it's a slow computer, if it is just the lugging everything around, try to outsource, hire someone maybe for $100 for the day, a friend that can help you be your key grip, someone to carry your stuff for you, or just save up your money and buy a computer that is really fast in editing. And I think the first thing that I did to make my workflow easier and make me fall in love back into video editing, filmmaking, was buying a really fast computer. It was a huge investment. I think it was $3,500. It was an iMac 2019 fully decked out, and I still have it now. It still works perfectly on a 4K timeline. It's pretty fast. What I want to say is that make it easy because it's something so fun, and whatever that is not easy, whatever you dread, try to figure out a workflow, implementation, something that can make it easier for you so you can enjoy it again. And that is so important because you want to enjoy this. You don't want to hate it. You don't want to dread it. That's why I don't cut that much when I'm doing my YouTube videos. I mess up. I say stupid things. I have brain farts. I'm not a good speaker either. And I just want to deliver content. It's therapeutic for me. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. So I want to pass that on to you guys. Just as long as you're putting your best effort out there, doing your best, you will learn, you will get better, and eventually you'll be there. So let's talk about number 2. Getting the communication down with your crew is very important. Now, Kalen is a good friend of mine, so I don't feel very anxious or intimidated by him, even though he's very talented. He's a singer, songwriter, script writer, great actor. He's been on Trojan commercials, TV shows, short films, movies, just a phenomenal guy. And someone that talented, as well as the female actress that was in this scene, is very talented. Talking to them and making sure you don't come off as someone pushy, as someone rude, as someone who's demanding too much. So what I did beforehand was I talked to the director, which is also the main actor, and I asked him, like, what can I do? How can I make this easy for you guys? And what is the mood you want? And communicating with your director or whoever, if you're your own director, ask yourself, do I want a Ozark feel or do I want a soap opera feel? Do I want someone to be flattering or do I want to give this a dark and gritty look? Communicate with your director, make sure your lighting setup is the way you want it. And I think looking at past YouTube channels or YouTube videos that talk about how to get that moody look will really help when you're actually on set. So let's talk about number 3. So for number 3, I think I want to explain a little bit of the lights I used and why I used them. I used a Godox VL 300 with an Aputure spotlight mount and a gobos that gave the imitation of a window shutter or blinds at 1%. Now this light is insanely bright. I did a video on it in one of these corners. Check it out. It's like daylight bright. At 1%, it was overexposed. So I had to kind of tweak the settings on my tripod, make sure the shot was right and the shutters were coming in at an angle. And that's what I used for that side of the room. For the key light, what I did was I put the Aputure 120D Mark II, and I put the softbox on it, the light dome Mark II, and I faced it up to the ceiling. And that's where I think I messed up. I gave them too soft of a key light. They looked too just happy. It looked too happy. Everyone was attractive looking, and I just wish I could have given more hard light, maybe just one side really dark, a Rembrandt look, and one side really bright. But I just didn't know how to implement that in that setting. It was a very tricky setting, to be honest. So then what I did was I put a Falconized F7 behind her to the right, and I put a blue tone to it to add a sad feel, but I think it just made the color palette a little bit more colorful. I don't think it did a sad feel at all. I think it just gave it a contrasting complementary blue palette to it. So that's where I feel like I failed a little bit. So maybe you guys can learn from my failures. And let's talk about number 4. I think number 4 is just very, very important that you use your setting and location as much as you possibly can. So I'm going to show you guys a scene I did 30 minutes in the same location with the same props, the same tools, and just one Aputure D Mark II, 120D Mark II, with a hard light facing down to get an interrogation scene. Yeah, that was exactly the same location, the same setting, and just with one light and my Falconized F7 as a hard backlight so he can pop out. Obviously, it's not realistic that he has a light back there, but I thought it looked pretty cool and cinematic. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. But I think those 4 tips are really helpful. So number 1 was how to deal with your anxiety by just going out there and just remembering how much work and education and time you've put into your craft and just letting it come to you. So embrace failure by just putting yourself out there. Don't be scared of it. Just be out there, and eventually it'll go away. It'll go away because you'll remember that you have done this before. It will go away because you know that this is something hard. It's not easy, and it takes effort and energy and courage to be out there. So it really just remember that that's what's important. Number 2, communication is really good with your... Oh my God, I messed up. Number 2 is making sure your communication with your crew and your director is very open, and you're making sure that you guys are on the same page. Number 3 is use what you have in the setting that you have it in. So the lights that I used are very privileged. I have very expensive gear, and some have even more. But some of you guys might have a lamp. Some of you guys might have like a light bulb, something very cheap, like a $20 light bulb, or maybe even your phone light. Use whatever you can to get the mood that you think fits best with the script. And finally, number 4 is use your setting as much as you possibly can, because it really is so hard to get settings as they're expensive, and lugging that gear around, as you can tell, the C-stand is just so much gear. That's one of the parts I dread so much, is carrying that gear around. And I ranted for about 25 minutes. Thank you for listening to me rant. And I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert. I just want to share my experiences with you guys. So maybe if you've never been out there, you guys can kind of experience it through me. I will try to make more behind the scenes of short films, music videos, as well as other content, and give tips along the way. For me, how this benefits me is by regurgitating and reanalyzing that. I learn more from it. So teaching it to you guys, I actually learn in this process as we're speaking right now, because I'm really reflecting and trying to think how I could have done it better. So I think if you do want to make a YouTube channel and talking about your experiences, it really is another form of learning yourself. And I really just appreciate I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. Please keep shooting, and I'm anxious every shoot. I have anxiety right now as we're speaking. I'm just overall afraid of failing, and I just pushed through it, and I hope that maybe gives you guys a little bit of encouragement to continuously try. Don't be scared, and if you fail, it's okay. I've failed so many times. Thank you. Subscribe. Leave a comment with any of the gears, or if you want to know my editing workflow or exporting, anything. It could be anything. I respond really quickly, and I would love to start a discussion about all of this. Maybe you guys can teach me something. Thank you, and have a good night.